August 7th, and welcome to another episode of Style by Stevie. We are here with none other than singer, songwriter, artist, and developer Landon Thomas. TGIF, first and foremost, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm in the studio here, just getting stuff done, doing some studio maintenance work today. So it's been a pretty efficient day so far. Happy to be here, excited to be here in the interview. Absolutely.
Yes, and I'm grateful to have you here. I had to see what all this buzz is about, the Garden of Eden, which we will be talking about later in the show. Hi, Lotus Egyptian Flower. Hey girl, how are you? Welcome as you're just coming in. We are here with Landon Thomas. You guys are getting two shows today, back to back. And the theme for today's show is Femme Fatale, which ties into Garden of Eden, which is Landon's song. My second guest, which will be on at 4, the beautiful Fatou B. She is in a film titled Karma and Heels by Kendra Rainey King. And that's why I'm all in my gladiator like armor today to represent these powerful women. The film just is about women finding their strength. And we're going to talk about that in the next hour at 4. Looking beautiful, Miss Stevie. Thank you. And also, Grace Jones was actually the inspiration for today's look. I wanted to just symbolize powerful women. If you've seen James Bond, View to a Kill, and you saw Grace Jones with her tall binoculars and she had the hood, that's the inspo. And also Whitney Houston, the bodyguard. So definitely, thank you, Lotus Egyptian Flower, and a very special thank you to my amazing glam team. So without further ado, Landon, how has 2026 been for you thus far?
So it's been an adventure. I would say it's my first year doing a lot more freelance. Of my first year doing a lot more studio work and a lot more background work. I would say. We did do the video for Garden of Eden, which to me that caps off the run of what we were doing for that particular project, and now we're starting to work on some new stuff coming out pretty soon. But Garden of Eden was a steeple. It was a time period, that I love. Big transitional period, I would say, in my life. And honestly, in 2026, man, it's exciting. You know what I mean? Everything is coming to a head and everything is blooming, I would say. Like a garden, if you will.
Absolutely. And I said this yesterday to my guest that I had on the show, which is yes, I think I had a show yesterday. I forgot. Yes, I did have a show yesterday. It's been a blur this week, y'all, so forgive me. Jay writes, we were talking about the power of reinvention. So I must say that 2026 has been the year of reinvention, reinventing yourself and coming back stronger than ever. So I absolutely agree. So speaking of the birth process, you grew up from a musical inclined family in the Pittsburgh, PA area. So tell us a little bit about your backstory growing up in Pittsburgh, PA, because there's so many amazing artists that have bloomed from Pittsburgh.
So it's kind of funny. I always say I have what we like to call a special case. As far as like my family, my grandmother sung, my mom sung, my uncles on my mom's side they also were in bands. Like my uncle Dorn is a beautiful singer. My uncle Bill, he was an independent label owner in the '90s. Where I started singing actually is kind of funny because used to host these shows at a bar in this place called the Strip District. This was like 97, 98. And at a band practice that they had, they let me get on stage. They had, crowd coming in at that particular time. And they let me sing, which was just my imagination from the Temptations at the time. Um, so it's kind of like it's been a curious thing. It's also funny because on my dad's side, my dad is doesn't seem musically at clown at all, right? He was a I would say he's a Purple Heart War veteran. He worked at the Pentagon, Ivy League grad. But his brothers were drummers and keyboard musicians, and they still are in bands today. Like my uncle, he is doing backup for like Bootsy Collins and George Clinton now. So yeah, I have a really musically inclined, diverse background. My mom still sings. She wrote a book. And Growing up in Pittsburgh, it's so weird because everything is music. Like a lot of people don't. It's an untapped music town, I would say, with jazz, the Granada Theater, and it's historically black jazz music. Black opera. And a lot of people don't understand that too. Just the art aspect of where I'm from. Because we're mountain people. Normally, you think sports and mountains, but it's a real hidden gem, I would say.
Amazing, amazing. And fast forward at the age of 20, you signed your first record deal. My God. What, and I always ask, what's your mama say about it? What's your mama say? Because I remember going into the AT&T store and Landon knows my backstory. You guys know my house burned down June 10th. And we're having to regroup. And I'm in my new home right now as we speak. So I'm excited. You guys are on the journey with me. I know it looks completely different than how it used to look, but we're in my new home. So I'm excited about that. But we were at the AT&T store and I was talking with the sales clerk, the store manager or whatever, and we were trying to get me some internet for my phone and everything, get my phone turned back on because you guys know the backstory. And I showed him some of my interviews and he was just like, I know your mama's proud. My mom was right there at the table and she said, I am. With a smile on her face. And she just shook her head like,
Yeah.
so proud. And that was going to be my first question for you. Signing your first record deal at the age of 20 years old. What was that experience like for you, and what did your parents say about it?
So it was a weird time, I would say, because at the same time that I was signing that deal with Mission Control, like, and I'm still good with the guys that were from there. They were doing a distribution through Sony Red at the time. And shout out, he'll probably see this. Shout out to Lee Davis, who's a great guy still. But at the same time that that was going on, I was having a daughter. Which we had a single deal at the moment. It didn't end up working out the same way. My mom was always proud of me for making music. What it allowed me to do, though, at that time was learn a lot of distribution. So even though I was with that, we had the single, but we didn't put it out. I was able to parlay it into getting my own partnership with Symphonic Distribution, which I've been with for about, I would say, since it was like 21. I'm about to be 34, 13 years. I've been running my own label, indie label distribution, which is a whole other ballpark to do because it allowed me to learn so much more on the back end, how to distribute music, how to distribute physical copies, how to be the owner of a label, and also figure out how to go and seek my own things. So through Lee, I pretty much learned because he was a great guy and great tutor. You know what I mean? Especially at that particular time. And then I've had some great tutors, just in general, like Mike Carroll, who's works with Taylor Gang. A great guy. This guy DJ Afterthought, who I was just talking about. These guys is funny because we have an aggressive relationship where we have a back and forth dynamic, but the respect is always there because of certain things that they taught me, and under their tutelage. But yeah, it was a journey at that particular point, with just growing and learning how to grow in this space and really being somebody who, okay, even though it doesn't work out for me being just an artist, it worked out for me being an artist plus. You know what I mean? So everything ends up being beautiful. And then my daughter's 12. Now she wants to write a book and do music and all the things. So it's been inspiring. And just the growth experience in general. Like I said, I'm in a studio now that I'm a partner with, doing account maintenance and stuff, learning a few things still. So it's just like, forever being a sponge, growing in this particular space.
And absorbing all of that knowledge. What's been your biggest challenge in life, and how did you overcome it as an artist?
Um, I would say, hmm, biggest challenge in life. Um, I would say I'm a knucklehead. That's pretty much what it is. I'm a knucklehead where not so much as that's been a challenge, because honestly, I'm the type of person where I've learned how to burn bridges, but I've also learned how to swim. You know what I mean? Which honestly, it's like not every opportunity is going to be for you. A lot of things are, God doesn't want every opportunity for you. God has not put you here to go under everybody else's path. And the biggest life lesson I had in general was, look, learning to run my own race. Not worried about what anybody else is doing beside me, learning to run my own race and stay where I'm at in the course. It's not a relay, it's cross country. You know what I mean? It's a marathon and you want to keep going. That's the big thing. Learning anything in music. And I always tell people this, it's way more important than endurance is way more important than sudden impact, because you want longevity. How are you going to grow in this space? And a lot of people don't teach you how to grow in this space. You know, they teach you how to get to a certain point, but then they don't teach you how to stay. You know, so that's, I would say that's for every artist. Every artist has dealt with it where it's like you don't know. You're going into the unknown. This journey is the unknown in general. So learning how to endure, learning how to grow, and learning how to stay and cultivate relationships, or to, burn a relationship down when need to be. That's always important. And so I would say that was my biggest challenge in overcoming it, was just being, just keep going, never give up in general.
If you could ask God, life, the angels, or the powers that be any question and receive a direct answer, what would that be for you?
For me, I would say, that's a good one. For me, I would say my question would be, does the end justify the work? You know what I mean? Not so much that it doesn't already because it's fulfilling, right? But does the end justify the work as far as, what we're giving to other people? Will people look at my career and see a rhyme and reason? Will it inspire people? And how am I going to pay it forward? Because it's important to, get the next person into this thing. I think with the generation that we're in and the generation prior to, we've lost a lot of sight of the fact that we have to continue. This is a continuing thing. We have to be able to put the next artist on. We have to be able to grow the next artist, to teach the next artist, because we're teaching people a thing that has been handed down to us, whether it's from the fact that black music cultivated all music, I
Yeah.
just yeah, I just learned, and it's funny. I'm a big historian. So I love the
Me.
history of music. Yeah. And one of the big things I learned, the difference between country music and R&B, and I tell people this all the time. Country music started from a minstrel show, which is straight up them imitating black art, So you have this art that started from black people that they would not let black people in, Um, which is a whole other conversation to have. But what we learn
Oh,
is, yeah,
I want to have it. I want to have it. I have a lot to say on that.
yeah,
And I was going to ask you a question I'm glad you, not to cut you off, but I'm glad you jumped into that because you know where I'm going to go. And y'all know how big of a fan of this woman I am, Beyonce.
yeah,
When she came out with Cowboy Carter, it was a mixed reaction. Not the black people, we just like whenever she drops something is art, and that it is because she's
right.
so innovative. She's one of the most innovative female artists in American history. For her to be able to do different genres of music that you don't typically see a lot of black women that are in the music industry do. We see the
Exactly.
Sade's, the Phyllis Hymans, the of course the Janet Jackson, all of that. But Beyonce said, no, I'm not just going to do country. I'm going to give you my version of what it should be. And she
Right.
paid homage to all of the black artists and writers that are out currently right now. And Rosetta Tharpe, who was one of the first black women pioneers in country music, and so many others, Big Mama Morton, all of them who have specialized in that genre of music.
Right.
But there needs to be a deep conversation on who gets to benefit from the culture and the music and the creativity. And it's us. We originally created this music from hip
Right.
hop to spinning. A lot of people don't think that scratching records is music. It's a form of music because back in the day, if you go to like the late 80s, early 90s, it was a mix of everything. And you saw the
Right.
marriage of hip hop and R&B start to blossom in the late 80s going into the 90s when you saw Queen Latifah, when you saw MC Light and all of these other female artists start to emerge.
Right.
So I think that it is pivotal that we as Black artists continue to keep standing our ground and standing firm in our creativity. And it's a quote from another great female singer that I love. I don't know how old Landon is, but yes, I'm 32 by the way. So how do
I'm
I know
33.
about all of this? Oh, oh my God. Okay, same age bracket. So you already know the person I'm gonna say next. Nina Simone, and I love Nina
Yes.
Simone.
Yes.
Love her. And I go back and I watch some of her performances, and this woman gets on the piano and she makes love to that piano. Like she just sits up there like it's nothing and plays her heart out. May she rest in grace. One thing she said that I will never forget, and I say it all the time here on my show, is the job of the artist is to reflect the times. And right now we are seeing where Black artists, Black creativity, Black art is being erased and pushed away. And what Beyonce did with Cowboy Carter was said, oh no, no, no. We're gonna make sure we get some black writers on this album. And
Yeah.
what we saw her do, it was at the Grammys, was recognize all of these black writers, all of these black producers, all of these black directors, all of this on her album. So yes, we can have the conversation. I have been saying this. You was like, I didn't want to dive into it, but go ahead to finish off your point.
So like, and just to go into your point too, like first off, I love Beyonce. Like I always tell people this, and it's funny. People, I've had this argument with people so much, and people are like, what are you talking about?" I'm like, if we're talking about a king of R&B right now, Beyonce is undeniably the king of R&B. Like, and we try to make it seem like, okay, you know what I mean? We're looking for another guy, but it's like, look, at this particular time, there's nobody with the albums. There's nobody with the longevity that Beyonce has had, right? There's nobody with the career that Beyonce has had at this point. Nobody can do what she's done in Hills. So I always tell people, like, look, you got, no matter what you can say about her, you have to respect Beyonce and what her stance is and what she's done for black music in general. That's just in general. Now back to, like, the country, what I've learned about that, and it's funny to just talk about how they're erasing, and it's an erasure of not only the music but in general the idea that it comes from us, you know what I mean? I try to
Yes.
tell people, like, what they do is they're going to try to steal our IP. They try to steal our intellectual property and make it their own, right? Where you, in our system and what we've had growing up, right? Just the music in general. We look at things like, let's see, like Ray Charles diving into country music, because that's the music that he grew up on. The banjo comes from Africa. You know what I mean? This, like, a lot of the music that we're looking at, a lot of everything that we're talking about, it comes from Negro spirituals. Before there was anything that's on record, before anything else, it comes from us singing hymns. Rap comes from modern storytelling. You know what I mean? Black people being shamans. Like, these are things that I always tell people, like, look, magic, if we're talking about magic and magic being inherent, music is the design of what magic is. You know what I mean? We're designing time. We are designing time. We're designing frequency. We're giving you something that you can't see, but you can hear, something that you can't see, but you could feel. And then that's even before we get into video production, visual, just based off of your hearing. If you listen to a chord, it strikes a nerve, it makes you feel something. Music is a conversational piece. So everything, and I'll tell people, one of the music, and this has nothing to do with country, but just music in general. The one thing that surprised me was salsa music coming to America was done by an Afro Caribbean. Like, you know what I mean? It was done by somebody that's Afro Cuban. All of this shit is ours. Like, for, you know what I mean, for lack of a better term. Like, all of it is ours. So we have right to join whatever genre we want. That's the reason why I hate the conversational pieces of, yo, this isn't for black people. This is a mixed reaction. This is R&B, because no, that's what they did to us in the first place. They made race music. R&B. The term rhythm and blues didn't come from black people. It was white people naming something that they didn't want to be a part of what they had. They separated it, which doesn't, there was no genres, right? There was no particular sound. It was, hey, this is black music, this is white music, and we don't want the black music to mix with white music. And then, because of time and because we realized, like, oh, this is racial, and this is something that a lot of people don't want, then they named it rhythm and blues. You know what I mean? And then if you look at it, if we look at it that way, they took the term rhythm and blues, right? You look at what blues is right now, what they consider blues or bluegrass or classic blues. It has nothing to do with this. You don't see our faces on that either. You know, they subsectioned us into one particular subgenre, right? And because of this, it allowed them to put a name on what we have. And the fact of the matter is, you can't title it. They've tried to title everything that we've done, from rock and roll to hip hop to funk, you know, trying to put a title on what we have when a lot of the things that we have, we didn't title it ourselves. You know what I mean? Because music is universal. It's something that's universal in general. You have different languages that have different music, different keys that are, you know, that are not, might not necessarily be a key that Americans love, but it's a key that another language knows, you know? And I think it's important to be able to discern a difference between what music is universally and what music was split into in America. You know what I mean? Because Americans made it where they're sectioning it off, and they sectioned it off based off skin color. But the fact of the matter is, all the music that's revolutionary in America came from black people. That's not a, you know, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. So I always look at it like that. You know what I mean? Learning that our power is inherent. Learning that there's power in music, learning how important music and theater is. So, like, I'm a theater kid. So, I always try to tell, like, especially my daughter, especially the kids, the next generation, it's important to learn the history of this so that you know what to shape it. You can be able to make your own opinion off of it and realize that you could do what you want. It's not something that they could put you in a box with, because we're meant to break the box. Rules are meant to be broken. So
Yeah.
yeah, they place these rules to sanction us, and we can't be sanctioned. So, you know, it's kind of like, there's a movie, and it's the weirdest movie to even relate to. Trolls. There's a Trolls movie where if you look at how they split their genres over, you know what I mean? There's a whole movie about how they split genres and how they split taste in different music, from pop music to this and that, but we're all uniquely one. And that's what that was about. Like, you know what I mean? It's all one. Music is universal. It's a language that all of us love, no matter where you're from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, I know you've seen the scene in Five Heartbeats where they had their single where they went and they performed in front of the crowd, and then they went to the record execs, and these white guys came in and were singing their single, and we're just like, no, we're not gonna do that. Even in Dreamgirls, if you go back and you know which scene I'm talking about,
Hmm.
it's like, no, we're not gonna give you this song. We're gonna give it to the other artists. And it's
Right.
just like, it's still a fight for black artists out here as it pertains with it. It goes back to what you just said about the IP and everything, intellectual property. It is important that every artist owns their masters. And
Yeah.
that is something that, God, I wish he was still here. He was ahead of his time. Prince, y'all know how much I love Prince. Prince was ahead of his time as it pertains to marketing, owning your masters. He had his own record label, for Pete's sake. He left, what was it? He was signed to Warner Brothers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And
He was signed to
Master,
Warner and then
yep,
started Paisley Park.
and
Yep.
yep, Paisley Park started his own record label. Guess who was signed to that label and worked with him at that time? Shaka Khan.
Hmm.
So he was ahead of his time as it pertains to artists owning their masters, as it pertains to artists being independent and having their own independent labels. And you're seeing a lot of artists like Mary J. Blige. She's another who went and started her own independent label. And so many
Right.
others that are following suit. Yes, you can be signed to a label. You can be signed to Rock Nation or whoever. But I love the deal that they gave Meg Thee Stallion, where she can be, you know, an independent artist, but you're still up under a label, but you still have creative input. Those are the type of deals that you want, whereas they
Right.
don't, you know, take full credit for everything. Another example would be T-Boz from TLC. And I love T-Boz. She said this for their album after Left Eye passed away, which would have been their what? They did Fan Mail. It was Ooh on the TLC tip, Crazy Sexy Cool, Fan
Yeah.
Mail. The
And
next
and
one
then
after that,
3D. Yep. 3D.
yes, you already knew which one. It is so ironic because I'm dressed like them on the cover, but the only difference is I don't have black. But for this album, T Boss was saying, if you don't, and they were still mourning the loss of Lisa, Left Eye. and they were saying that, if they didn't come up with, which single was going to be the hit or whatever like that, they'll have your album coming out all willy-nilly. That's what she was saying. So
Yeah.
they just pushed that one out. And the cover that y'all saw was not, T Boston really didn't like that cover all too well. I mean, it was beautiful, but it was dark. It was gloomy because they were still in the process of mourning. And they're just like, how can we get back in the studio? You know, if you don't get out there and put something out there, they'll put your project out there and you won't have no say so as far as what you want the aesthetic to look like, as far as which single you want to be first, anything. They'll have it coming out and it'll be looking all willy nilly. So Boss was spot on with that. So
Yeah.
it's important that artists have your own intellectual property, own your masters, have your rights and your say so as far as what you want your album to come out to be, what you want the cover work, whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. And that's the beauty of
Right.
being an independent artist. Full creative control.
Honestly, and honestly, we live in a time frame where, and it's funny to say that the irony of the way that the music industry is set right now is your intellectual property is yours, but it's yours to also give away, right? Where automatically, and I always tell people this, you automatically own your own masters. You know what I mean? They can't take them from you unless they contracted to take them from you. You know what I mean? You write the song, you put the song out, you push it, you're a published artist. There's things that you could go and publish your own music and your own work right away. You don't have to give away your rights for anything. You could just go and push it, you know? The big thing that the labels do for you now is they're a benefactor, which is like a patron. They can put their money up for what you do, but a lot of times where you're doing that, they're taking the control. You know, like I look at contracts now, which is one of the reasons why I'm glad that things happened the way that they did with me, you know, where it forced me to be independent. You know, it forced me to learn to grow and to be my own artist and to be my own boss because if we're looking at the time frame that we're in now, everything makes you have to be self-sufficient as an artist, right? So you don't necessarily need a Def Jam. You don't
All right, Little Red Riding Hood. Yes, girl. Yes. I had to get ready for my next guest. She's your karma and heels. So I had to channel my inner femme fatale. So the inspiration behind today's look was Grace Jones' View to a Kill, and James Bond, and then Whitney Houston's The Bodyguard. So it's a mix, a little bit of both. So I had to come in full gear for the Karma and Heels. All right, so I'm super excited. I'm super excited. Fato B joins me in the next hour, and I think we lost Landon. I don't know, but he's frozen. I hope you guys can hear me. Can y'all see me? And y'all make sure y'all go and check out my girl Fake This Deception. She had Hakeem Sharif on her platform, and y'all know Caretaker. He did his thing in that movie. Him and Don Snipes. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think it might have dropped him. Hopefully he should be coming back. But in the meantime, between time, make sure y'all tune in at 4 p.m. I had a great time, and she couldn't get the gist of what I was saying. It was a song that he was singing while he was doing what he was doing with Homeboy. So y'all make sure y'all go and check that out and get into the glam. Get into the glam. Yes, get into the glam. I wanted all red everything. So shout outs to Melanie Nella, my Bridges, for making sure that we are right. I think we might have lost Landon. Ah, shout outs to B Walker. And then he did say he was in the studio, so hopefully he'll be joining me back. If not, in the meantime, between time, y'all are getting two shows today. Hopefully, Landon will be joining me back. I need y'all to go and check out The Garden of Eden, which is a stimulating, it's a sexy song. So definitely go and check that out. But in the meantime, let me give y'all a tour of my mantle in my new house. Over here, I added a few more things to my mantle. So I'm gonna let y'all see it. It truly is the house in here. So we listen and we don't judge. All right. So as y'all can see, um, oh yes. Okay, yes. Look at my mantle back here and how everything is set up. Oh, okay. Get into that lighting though. All right. So y'all like it? These are my Barbies, and that is the Next Generation Barbie from 2008. This one is Emerald Embers, 1996, and Bob Mackie designed the gown. And y'all know who that is, and y'all know I gotta have my candles going in the background. All right. So in the meantime, between time, y'all make sure that y'all tune in with me again at 4. Hopefully, I can add Landon back. We still got a little more time. But I even have some on the mantle in the living room area. So y'all make sure y'all go and catch the replay to see me unpacking and everything. I still have a few more things that I have to get from for my room, like a few shelves, a few pieces here. But in the meantime, shout outs to my paternal, B Walker. Let me message him and shoot him a message and see what happened. Oh, his phone disconnected. Okay. Yes, make sure y'all are staying tuned. In the meantime, I'm gonna hold it down. My mom is here. My mom is here. She's in her room next door. So I can easily go through the door because I have the luxury of this house is that I have two doors like right by each other. And shout outs to my fraternal Island Yankee who's been with me since day one. I'm patting my head like I'm about to gossip. All right, Pearl from 227. And you know what? They need to, if they were to do a reboot for 227, I definitely want to be Pearl. Because me and my fraternal, we like to be all up. We here, we see each other, me and B Walker. We see each other. He know it's like he knows my thoughts. And we're back with the amazing Landon Thomas. But that's just a side note. I'm holding it down. If they were to do a reboot for 227, I'm automatically Pearl. I'll be sitting in the window. Y'all think I would be Sandra because the way I'm shaped, but no, I want to be Pearl. I want to be Pearl. I want to be sitting in the window getting everybody business. All right. And we're back. We were talking
Sorry
about,
about that.
you're good. We were talking about owning your master's intellectual property, and you were saying something. Oh, I think we lost Landon. Give it a minute because he did say he's in the studio where he's at. But in the meantime, between time, while we're waiting on Landon to come back, I need y'all to drop your favorite artists in the comments that you would like to see, and hopefully I can try to make something happen. I'm definitely gonna bring Landon back on the show. I just like his vibe and his energy, and super duper talented. So y'all make sure y'all go and check him out. I love working with new artists. I love sitting down and chatting with new music artists because y'all know I'm a music head by heart. Y'all seen I was about to say makeup, my music collection. When me and K Tooks did our what you call it, and B Walker even knows that too. Like y'all know how many CDs, how many albums I have, but the thing is right now is a lot of artists is putting their stuff on vinyl. So hopefully I can find a little record player because I did have thoughts about getting one. My father had one in our old home, and I want one of the old fashioned ones that have like the little horn thing on it where you can put the record on and all of that good stuff. I always wanted one of those. Kenyon Dixon, I gotta check him out. I definitely gotta check him out. And you also told me about Alex Isley. I love her. I've seen her perform. Y'all know who else I love as well too? Victoria Monet. Victoria Monet, for me, Victoria Monet, to me, she is a living reincarnation as far as dance. of Michael Jackson. Because in her video, All Right, you saw the elements of Michael, but she made it her own. She's a female, and in female form, to be able to dance, to be able to have that ability, breathing control, because when you're performing on stage, it's a lot. Trust me, trust me, it's a lot when you're on stage and you're having to dance and give your all, make sure that every the choreo is on point, all of that. Landon is coming back. I'm messaging him right now. So I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I think it's something YouTube is doing. Another artist that I like is Duran Bernard. I love Duran Bernard. Oh, baby. Duran is so talented. Like, y'all seen his Tiny Desk concert? Head on over to NPR if you have not. Because, and you know me and B Walker, we love Anthony David. We love our neo soul. We love Anthony David. And for those of you who don't know, I had Anthony David back on the show. I want to say 2020. When was that, B Walker? When was that? 2020? It's been so long. I've had so many, y'all. I'd be forgetting sometimes when and how, and sometimes y'all will remind me and tell me like, hey, you've had this person on your show this year. And sometimes it's been a blur. I've done over 1,000 interviews and counting and still going. We have another artist coming on the show next week. We have Lyle Anthony, who is an international award winning singer, songwriter, DJ. So that'll be the only show next week until I get my other guests with their flyers and everything. But that's the biggest one. That look forward to that. But I was talking about Duran Bernard. Okay, we're back with Landon. But I love Duran. I think Duran, Rolling Stone magazine compared him to Prince because of how he is. So just how he plays. But we're back with Landon Thomas. I had to keep the crowd entertained till you
Yeah,
came back, Landon. We were
I
talking
apologize,
about,
crowd. Like technical difficulties. YouTube acting crazy right now. It's on my own, but owning our masters, right? We were talking about Prince, of course, and like how first thing first, like Prince is one of my favorite artists, by the way. You know what I mean? I want to get that out before anything else happens because I grew up on Prince. My mama's a Prince, and of like that's how I started learning my falsetto because of Prince. So, but all in all, it's important to make sure that you own that you own all of your intellectual property, that you keep your stuff and you're just not giving it away for any particular reason. It's important that you're growing, you know what I mean, you grow yours and cultivate yours so that whenever you do decide, if you do decide to make thing, it's worth more whenever you decide that you want to share it or if you want to, give anything away. I always say, look, if you are going to sign a contract, I don't blame you, right? Because if your catalog is worth zero, you can't give zero away. You know what I mean? But you can always grow your catalog and make sure that you're getting the value that you deserve, which is ultimately the most important thing, that you're giving something away to your children, to your family, that you're keeping something for yourself, and that you get to see it grow the way that it should. And
absolutely.
sorry, guys, about that. Yeah, my phone.
No, you're good. You're good. And to add on to what you just said, to what Landon just said, which is it's important that you own it because what they'll do is you'll have to go back in the studio and you'll have to re-record that whole album. And if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
Lizzo had to do it, Ashanti had to do it, Taylor Swift had to do it, and I think T-Boz was saying from
Hmm.
TLC they had to do it as well too. So you go back in the studio you have to record. So make sure that you are owning your masters, everything, get it trademarked, do what you have to do as an artist. That's important. Definitely. So speaking of the rebirthing process, oh, I think we lost Landon again. Give it a sec, fashion dolls. Give it a sec. In the meantime, again, Okay, Landon is coming back. He's in the studio, and it could be where he's at. I'm not sure, but I think it could be. Y'all know YT likes to play games, and we're chatting about that. But I'm gonna bring him back up, and we're gonna continue on. But you guys again are getting two shows today. So next up, we have a model, we have an actress, the beautiful Fatou B joins me here in the dollhouse, and you guys know her as Charisma or Tempest, as in Karma and Heels. So we're gonna be getting into that. Again, today's shows both are centered around sensuality, being a provocateur, being a femme fatale, tap into your dangerous inner being. And what I mean by that is your sexy side. So both shows today, definitely. So we're gonna continue on with Landon B, and then I was about to say Landon B, Landon Thomas, and then we're gonna get on with Fatou B. But yes, Duran is modern day Eric Benet, and they compare him to Prince as well too, as far as his ability, as far as his style, everything. Oh yeah, her too, her too. And to add on to what B Walker just said, I think Kiki Walker. Oh my God, yes, and I think that Kiki needs to do gospel music. She has the vocal range and ability to be able to do gospel music. And you know who else as well too? Fantasia. And me and one of my good girlfriends, we were talking about Fantasia and her ability to be able to, do R&B and then do gospel because we've seen her. And baby, it's like she's ripping bricks out of the wall, literally. Fantasia lays it down. So I love me some Fantasia Taylor, okay? And you know who else does it for me is Jasmine Sullivan. I think Jasmine Sullivan doesn't get her flowers enough as a songwriter, uh, as a artist. She doesn't get her flowers enough. And then you mentioned Kiki Paternal. Kiki Wyatt, I think she is so talented. I think she's so dope. And just her ability, her vocal range, her ability, her and Coco from SWV. Nobody can do it for me better than Coco from SWV. And y'all know Coco is my muse. She's the reason why I wear my nails so long. And I think that both of these women, whenever they get on stage, you get chills, you get goosebumps because their ability to be able to go that high and do vocal gymnastics. Another female artist who's capable of doing that would be Shantae Moore. And Shantae Moore, she's a soprano. These are sopranos that I'm naming. Kiki, Coco, and Shantae are sopranos. Sopranos is the highest in the vocal ability when you're able to sing that high and project to the crowd. Kiki needs to be a church mother because she's pregnant again. Again with 14? Oh my God. She's got a whole tribe going over there. I didn't even want to talk about that, but she is true. She does. A whole tribe. A whole tribe. My God. But as far as anything else, her vocal ability, unmatched. Unmatched. And it's a lot of female artists who are able to go that high, who are sopranos. And then there are some who have like a lower register as well too. But we're waiting on Landon. Landon said he's gonna try again in like 5 minutes and join me back. And that's kind of helping me. It's actually kind of helping me kill time a little bit. So our next special guest, she will be joining me. But we're talking about female artists and just artistry in general, and who who's able to use their vocal abilities to go to certain different levels. Like they skill, they studied by the book, everything. Grew up in the church, and y'all know I'm a big fraternal knows this too, and I know he kind of like rolling his eyes. Y'all know I'm a big Whitney Houston fan. I think Whitney, the way she Which performance was it that she did that the first time I laid eyes on her, I was just like, wow, this is the most beautiful woman I ever, ever seen. Oh, Kiki got a brother. Yes, he sure does. Sure does. And you know, and it's typically when you're related to a female sibling and then you got a male sibling who's able to do the same thing, same vocal ability. Y'all know Coco, J. Michael sounds just like her. J. Mac has his own sound, but Jay is able to go up there into that upper register and do those whistle notes and all of that. So shout outs to J. Michael. Again, it's typically the boys that can sound just like their mom, that can sound just like their sister, sounds just like her. And that's a gift in itself. Like you got your own talent and you coming in with your own. Being a singer is a lot of work, and I commend every artist out here. Oh yeah, she is. And y'all, as it pertains to family, it's like talent runs in the family, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. Like everybody has their collective. Wouldn't you want to have your own collective sound versus having, someone else's identity? You want your own sound. And the thing is, when you're doing a collective group effort as a singer, each artist, each singer in the group wants to have their own sound. You know what I'm saying? And it's important to know that when you're bouncing off of that, and it runs in the family chain, you set. So absolutely. Shout outs again to B Walker for that, because that is true. That is true. But again, we're waiting on Landon, and I'm gonna add him back. And then next up we have Fato B. She will be joining me. Yes. Karma in Heels. If you haven't seen it, it is out now on Tubi. Shout outs to Damian King and Kendra Rainey King. And me and Kendra was supposed to be setting up an interview, but I know she is booked like crazy. And that would have been last month in July. But then the house fire happened and I had to push things back. No, was it July or yeah, I think it was either June or July. Then a house fire happened and I had to push things back, postpone, and all of that. But we're back. Let's get Landon back on. We got a few minutes left.
Okay, back for a second. It keeps killing my device, so it might do it again. I'm not sure what's happening, um, but I did want to let you know I'm not trying to leave. Like I'm enjoying this interview. We might, of course, like we're gonna have to do this again because of this being spotty. But I wanted to come back and, of course, tell you guys I appreciate this. Before it tries to cut out again, because I know it's probably going to in a second. But yes, this was like again, we need to own our intellectual property. It's of course important. We're going to get more in the Garden of Eden stuff more too, but I know like you got some other things that you got to do around 9 minutes, and this keeps on dying, like it keeps on killing my stuff that happened to come back along. But I wanted to come back in and say like I appreciate you guys because I apologize for the technical difficulties. But of course, and this is great. Like this is awesome. This is going to be a continued conversation.
In the meantime, make
Make
sure
sure
y'all
y'all
check
check
out
out
Landon's
Landon's
single,
single,
Garden
Garden of Eden,
out right
out right
now.
now.
Must have been
Must have been
perfect
perfect
because
because
it
it
ties
ties
into
into
the theme
the
of
theme of
being
being
sexy,
sexy,
being
being
all of
all
these
of these things
with my
with
next
my next
special
special
in a
in a
few
few
minutes.
minutes.
Be
Be
here.
be here.
Karma and
Karma and
heal.
heal.
So y'all
So
make
y'all
sure
make sure
y'all
y'all
tune in for
tune in
that.
for that.
Absolutely. Garden of Eden's out now. Of course, follow me. Love Songland on everything. This is a great conversation. Of course, we're going to be back. We're going to be back at it. I'm going to reschedule with you over the next few days so we can have a better in depth and more time. So let's do this. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I apologize for the craziness. But we're in here, and I see you, B Walker. We'll be able to talk too. I'm always good to reach out to. So thank you for your support, and I love you guys. Thank you so much.
And we love
And
you
we
too.
love
I
you
had
too.
a
I had a
blast, and
blast, and
we have
we
more
have more
time.
time.
But we're
But
gonna
we're
set
gonna set
something up.
something up.
Absolutely. Thank you again. You know what I mean? Message me. We on it. Absolutely immediately. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
All right,
All right,
fashion
fashion
dogs.
dog.
Refresh your
Refresh your
drinks
drinks
because the
because the
beautiful
beautiful folks will
join me
join me
next
next
hour.
hour.
So tune in at 4. I will see y'all then. Till next time.